So I'm feeling I need a little bit more inspiration for the musical section, and I'm thinking maybe a spoken word vocal would be good to add here. I'm going to show you a technique that you can use so you can record yourselves and get some pretty authentic sounding deep house vocals. It all depends on how you perform, of course, and what I'm going to do is put on my best fake American accent and say the word deep house. I'm going to record this in. Let's set up an audio track, and we need to turn the monitor in. You can hear now that my voice is coming through Ableton as well. There's a very slight delay occurring, and the size of this delay is basically depending on the settings that you've got on your audio settings over here. So preferences, audio, the buffer size here, and you guys know, with your computers, when you start adding instruments and effects, your project gets complex that you usually have to increase your buffer size, and there is a delay. We call that latency. So it's best to record vocals and stuff like this when your buffer size is small, so the early stages of the project. So that's what I'm going to do here. Make sure your audio input device is set to what you've got connected, so it could be an audio interface. In my case, I'm using a microphone connected into the built-in input, and it's going to work fine. So settings are correct, ready to go. We need to push record enable on the track, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record into a clip, and I'm going to say the word deep house, and I'm going to say it 4 times. So here we go. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. So you could see I was trying to get a similar performance on each one, being very careful about the timing, the kind of accent and the tone of my voice. But the fact is there are 4 different performances. Let me just turn the monitor off because it's a little bit distracting for me. But what I'll do is set this up so that the first deep house performance is put into the first clip on this audio track. I'm going to rename this D1, and I'm going to duplicate it. This is going to be called D2. This clip I'm going to set up onto the next performance. So that's what's happening. I'm going to duplicate this one, D3. This clip, the third performance. And then finally, D4. This one onto the last performance of the word. So we'll be able to have a listen and see how this sounds. First thing I'm going to do though is select all of them and right click to create a group track. I'm going to call this Deep Vox. So I'll solo, and let's just trigger the whole scene so that all of these clips are going to play. Deep house. Okay, so the timing was good, the tone was good. They're all in the same position in the stereo picture. So what we do is we bring the pan over. And now have a listen. Deep house. Sounding much, much better. Deep house. Now what I need to do is to clean this up a bit. You can hear that there's a lot of background noise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on a gate. And this can be found here. Going to drop it in, and we need to just see if we can set the threshold so it's just above those silent sections. Let's have a listen. Deep house. Okay, let's come a little bit lower. Deep house. That's good, but we're missing the P of the deep house. Deep house. So I'm going to take the hold and make this longer. Deep house. A little bit more. Deep house. There we go. Deep house. I'm also going to take the attack faster. Deep house. Deep house. That's great. That's really cleaned up that vocal, so we haven't got the background noise anymore. I'm also going to use an EQ3 just to roll off the bottom end. I'm going to take away everything below about 120. Let's see how that sounds. Deep house. Yep, that's really good. Deep house. Now we could benefit from some compression. Compression is something we look at in more detail in lesson 4. I'm going to stick this on the RMS. I'm going to take the ratio to about 4:1. I'm going to adjust the threshold down, and let's see how that sounds with the compression now. Deep house. Deep house. You've got some nice clarity there. Deep house. More energized. I think that's working really well. So what we'll do is we'll basically take these clips and now transpose them down. And let's just give this some real kind of heavyweight, low pitched energy. So if we transpose these down, let's see how they sound now.
Deep house.
There you go. That's a real Chicago style
Deep house.
vocal.
Deep house.
And it takes it away from being recognizable as your voice. This is the whole thing here. We're making it sound more like it should do, you know, in terms of a deep house track. Let's see how that all fits in the track now.
Deep house.
Let's bring this down.
Deep house. Deep house.
I think what we need to do now is to basically work with the EQ and bring out the sound more, because it feels like it's a little bit lost. I'm going to just play around with the EQ and just see if I can pick out some frequencies that we could do with cutting, because that's how it feels it needs to be on some areas.
Deep house. Deep house.
Okay, I'm going to do a cut around here.
Deep house.
See if we can bring some energy up.
Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house.
See, it feels really muddy without the EQ.
Deep house.
And now it's lifting it all out.
Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house.
Okay, I think that's good for the moment. What I'm going to do is we're going to use an effect on that. And this time I'm going to use the ping pong delay as a return effect. So I'm dragging it onto return A. And now I'm going to use the send level here. So we're going to have the original signal dry over here. And then we're going to have a little bit of the effect coming back over here.
Deep house. Deep house. Deep house. Deep house.
Yep, I think that's working really well. So that gives us something extra, something else that we could use as an inspiration for adding some new elements.